Hi, this is a quick video to show you how to use Google Meet, the video conferencing app that Google developed. It started out as Google Hangouts and it had some different components. It was a little bit rough. It eventually kind of improved, more bells and whistles added, streamlined, became Google Meet. Initially for enterprise users, but now it's available to a certain extent for all Google users. So Google Meet, Google Hangouts, those are kind of closely related. To access the app, just like the naming convention that Google has, you can type in your URL field, meet.google.com, or you can simply go over to your Google Apps grid and click on that, look through, scroll down if you need to. It might not be initially in sight, but it is the green icon with a video camera in the center and looks like a speech bubble. When you click that, you're able to jump right into Google Meet. They actually do offer beautiful artwork, so it's always varying. Every time you go to a Google page, a Google Meet page, you'll have this unique artwork, and they credit it in the lower left-hand corner so you can see who created that lovely art. On this screen, this is just the entry screen. Anyone can join or start a meeting in your enterprise. There's a couple of tools up at the top. There's your settings. That's it pretty much. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in and start a meeting. If you have anything scheduled, it will actually appear in a list down here. So that's today what's happening. So I'm going to click Join Start a Meeting. It asks you in a little splash screen that appears to give it a name. So you can call it a test. You can call it, I'm just going to give it the letter D, and name it whatever you want to, or you don't even have to give it a name. Mostly it's useful to give it a name. So I click Continue. Takes me into sort of the interim room, and then this is where I see where I am. I see my account. I see no one is here. It tells me that. I can click on Present. You can also phone in if you need to. I'm just going to join for now. So this actually takes me into the meeting. And again, that little splash screen appears with all of your details. So if you wanted to share the information with others, you could literally copy and paste this, or you can just click copy joining info and it copies it, puts it in that invisible clipboard that nobody can ever see. You go out of this, get you an email or however you want to share it in a text, that's also possible. Whatever app you're going to use, paste it in there, and then that's all they need to be able to join. For those joining by telephone, here's the dial-in number, and then there's a PIN. Also pretty straightforward, works just fine. You can add people down here at the bottom. This is where you could invite them or call them if you wanted to. If you type in an email address, like the first few letters of an email address, you can add them. You can also, no, I think that's all I need to say there. Just first few letters of the first name and the last name, and you can invite them there or just give them the code. So once we're in, this is what it looks like. Down at the bottom, there's the name, which was our shortcut of the meeting, and the up arrow also gives you, once again, that splash screen with your information. So if somebody joins midway through your meeting, all you have to do is maybe you're conducting the meeting, you pop in there and you can copy that information and text it to them, send it to them, email to them, and then they can join as well. This is your mic. If you click on it, it turns, I better not mute it. If you click on it, it turns red and you're muted, so your mic is muted. Here's your camera. If you click on that, it turns red. Then if you have a profile picture from Google, that will appear so that they can see who's speaking. And then if you click on that, again, you just toggle those on and off. So it's very clear when they're bright red like that, that they have been turned off and or muted. To hang up the call, if you need to jump out, there's the little receiver, just like the old-fashioned telephone. You just hang that up, click on that, leave call. And remember, anytime I let my mouse hover over any of these items, the label of what it is pops out, so that makes it pretty clear. One neat feature they have, as I move across to the left, from left to right at the bottom, turn on captions. If I turn on captions, this is particularly useful for speech or hearing impaired students, and it actually picks up your speech. It types it here. Now, I say that for those with special needs, could also be very useful for elementary teachers. They might want to make a recording with just themselves in the meeting, which you can do, show you in a second. And they might be reading a story and they might want to turn captions on, share that video with their students. So their students see their lovely teacher face reading a story, once upon a time in a cold and dark and lonely wood, and you see how it picks up the text right there. So the kids could read along. Great practice for developing supporting fluency. So that's kind of a neat feature right there. To turn it off, all I do is click on turn off captions, and then it's gone. So you can turn that on or off. If you record it, you'll have it forever, but I don't know another way to record that after the fact. So next button is present now. If I want to present my screen or a window, I could do that. So I'm just going to click on a window. You know what? I don't have another window open, so let me open another window. And we'll make this here's our school website. It's beautiful and bright and purple. So I'm just going to put that in the background. And if I want to, I need to have that already open if I'm going to share that. So when I click present now, and I can click a window, now I have a choice of all the open windows on my desktop. So I could click that and I could share that. Now, when I share that, I'm not going to be seeing that, but the ones to whom I'm presenting are seeing it. So it's a little bit awkward, but all you have to do when you're printing, forget about this screen, and then you can go ahead and make active the screen that you're sharing, which is this window. You can go ahead and do whatever you need to do on this other window, and you trust that they're seeing it. They can communicate with you if they're not, but then you just work on the window that you're sharing and they will see what you have indeed shared. So that's the way presenting works. And then down at the lower right hand corner, I have the little vertical ellipsis, those 3 dots that mean you have more options available to you. So first thing we have now is record meeting. This is wonderful. When I click on record meeting, that means that you can record anything transpiring here. Now, you do have to ask for consent, and everybody has to agree to that. And it says recording a meeting without the consent of all participants may be illegal and actionable. You should obtain consent to record this meeting from all participants, including external guests and guests who join late. So I'm going to go ahead and accept that. And then I see in the upper left-hand corner of my screen that record is launching. It's going to turn red, but I can see that I am recording. Well, it's about to start here in a second. And it will let me record. If I want to turn that off, it takes it a minute to start up. So if I want to stop the recording once it's active and going, there it goes. So it turns red. I know that I'm recording, and I have that feature going. So then if I want to stop recording, all I do is I don't click on this button, which seems to be our tendency to want to do. It just shows me I'm recording. To stop it, I have to actually go back into that little menu in the lower right-hand corner and click stop recording. And then you confirm, yes, I do want to stop that recording. So I can change my layout on this menu as well. There's several options. That's how you view the participants. So if you do have a live session with participants, there's several different ways that you can see them. Spotlight means whoever's speaking is big, large on the camera, just like I am here. Then I can have a sidebar with those pictures and so forth. The other thing that I can have is there is a new extension, well, no, it's been around for a little while, but there's a grid extension that's available. And I don't have any participants, so I can't show you live, but when I click on that extension, you will see it here. There's a mark through it. Then I will see literally the same size box all across and maybe on multiple pages, so I can see the faces of all of my attendees, which with a teacher and students, that's a very useful feature. You might want to have that. If you have your Google Meet room under control, everybody's used to using it so that total chaos does not ensue, then it's a great way to have a meeting with multiple participants and you can see everybody equally. So that is that. And then we have also, okay, full screen, that pops it up so you get rid of all the menu bars. And here's you can also turn on the captions here as well as down in the bar. Here's your settings. So if you need to go in and change any settings, I would mention here in your settings, here are your audio. I happen to be using an ear pod to record. On the video settings, you have a couple of options here. It used to be, I'm not sure what the setting is now, but by default it was set on high definition. And let me go ahead and change that. So when I go in, you can see now that looks a little bit clearer. So it's a little bit sharper. It's actually better. It's kind of nice that way, depending upon who's presenting. Not sure if you don't ever like that on yourself, right? But in my settings, if you have any trouble with any connectivity, that does take a lot more bandwidth. So if your connectivity is a little sketchy, you might want to go into that video and settings and just drop down a notch and have standard definition. And that way it's perfectly acceptable. It's a little bit fuzzy, but it just depends on your connectivity, and that will definitely help with fewer issues. If it's really bad, your connectivity, you can also on the bottom on the standard definition, you can drop to audio only and just stop projecting your video, because then that will save some bandwidth as well. So that's what you might need to know about those settings there. Use a phone for audio, that's just using a phone. You can also report a problem or get help. Google is great with all of their help files. You can type that in. There are fields where you can type in what your problem is. You'll get the feedback from their database, what will solve that. And that's it. I would mention when you're doing a recording, once you stop the recording, Google automatically creates a folder on your Google Drive that says meet recordings, and then it automatically puts the recordings right in that meeting folder that it creates. Just like in Classroom, automatically creates a classroom file. You don't access that directly, but it stores the files that pertain to that inside. And so same thing with Meet. It creates that folder. However, then once you stop, once the video recording has been processed, rendered, it's ready to go, you will get an email notification that your video is ready to go. So just it comes in your regular email primary inbox, click on it, and then you'll have access to view that recording. I believe that is all I need to say. I'm going to hang this up. So when I hang up, I can also return, this is what it looks like, and I can click return to my home screen. And this is that initial screen that comes up, and you'll see I have different artwork, so it's beautiful. I'm going to show you one other way aside from jumping directly in. You can also go to Google Calendar to join a meeting, and that's a very handy feature. So in Google Calendar, if you use that, let me turn off some of these items so it's not quite so congested. This happens to be today, April 2nd. If I wanted to create an event and access it through Calendar, all I do is create the new event. I type something in, you type up your details when you want it to appear, and generally you'll be opening up more options so you can fill in more dates. You can change at a time if you want to. You could also add attachments, which then the recipients in the Google Meet can access, but you add them from Calendar. So if you wanted to attach something, it appears right down here. That will be available to them in the meeting, regardless of how they join. So once I'm finished with this, I'm thinking I want to add a Google Meet that's accessible here. I go to add conferencing, and I just click Hangouts Meet. They've changed this name a little bit. It used to be called just video conferencing. It's been called Google Meet. It's been called different things. That's what it is now, Hangouts Meet. Probably sensible since they're so closely intertwined. When I click Join Meet, here's the little the information that I need. Takes me right back into it. So that's how I can access a Google Meet, also through a calendar event. Any of your participants, when you add guests and you email an invitation to somebody, let me email myself. When I have all my information ready, I've added the conferencing, and you can add actually groups in here. If you have a group of all of your teachers, all of your principals, whatever you might have, whatever group, you can actually type the group in there and it populates all of those recipients. Then when I click save, it says, would you like to send the invitation? And generally you do, so I would click send. then when they receive that email notification, they can click right there. When they open up the details, they'll actually see that Meet link, that Hangouts Meet link, and can join from there as well. So that is Google Meet, and that's how it works. And I thank you for listening. And I think that takes us to the end of our meeting. Thank you.